Josh Hurley was returning home from Seattle after successful negotiations that had significantly improved cash flow for the company he worked for. He also had the opportunity to see his younger sister, Lisa, who was visiting from Tacoma, where she attended the University of Washington. They had a nice dinner at the Hilton Garden Inn and chatted for a couple of hours. It had been several years since he had seen her, and he enjoyed the time they spent together. He now looked forward to meeting Donna, his wife to whom he had been married for almost 5 years. He hated being away from her, but unfortunately that was the nature of his job. In fact, he was especially looking forward to their 5-year wedding anniversary, which was Friday, the day after tomorrow. She didn't know, but he had already booked a room at a local resort hotel for the weekend and ordered a blue sapphire radiant stone necklace that he was going to give to her at the hotel. He planned to pick it up from the jewelry store the next day. Now he wondered where she might be. He called her cell phone before boarding the flight, but it went straight to voicemail. He also tried calling home, but there was also a voicemail. Perhaps she was just out shopping with one of her friends, he thought. He thought about Donna and how much he missed her. She was just under 5.5 feet tall, had long wavy dark hair, brown eyes, and a dark skin tone that resembled a permanent tan. The only thing that irritated him was her insane jealousy. She was usually one of the nicest women he had ever known, but he hated it when she made her false accusations. He loved her too much to ever cheat on her, and he did his best to make sure she understood that. However, it got to the point where he couldn't even hold a business meeting with a female colleague without Donna thinking they were having an affair. He thought he had finally solved this problem when he suggested that she hire a private detective and follow him. Perhaps, he thought, when she received proof of his fidelity, she would calm down and understand that her fears were unfounded. He was more than a little tired of her jealousy and false accusations. It wasn't that he didn't have secrets from her. They were, and her constant reproaches of his so-called infidelity threatened to reveal one of these secrets, and in a very ugly way. He felt his heartbeat quicken as he thought about her constant reproaches. He took several deep breaths, as he had been taught, but to no avail. He felt his face begin to heat up and knew he had to quickly pull himself together. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small bag of pills. He took one, and after a few minutes he began to relax, his heartbeat returning to normal. The man sitting next to him looked at him with concern. "Are you okay, sir?" asked the man. "Should I call someone?" John shook his head. "No, but thanks for asking," he said. "It's just an old heart condition. I have a cure for it." The man nodded and leaned back, but continued to watch John, just in case. Finally, the plane landed. John took his luggage and walked to his car, which was parked in a short-term parking lot. He tried calling Donna again, but it went to her voicemail. He received the same answer when he called home. Where is she? He asked himself. He started the car and drove home. When he finally pulled into the garage, he noticed Donna's car was gone. He found it strange that she wasn't home since it was about 6:30 p.m. She usually returned from work around 5:30. Maybe she decided to go out for drinks with some of her friends from work, he thought. This didn't happen often, and he never minded her relaxing a little, but she usually called and texted him to let him know in advance. Moreover, she knew that he would return today. Usually she was at home so they could meet again after his trip. He took his things and entered the dark house. He put his things away and went downstairs to see if Donna had left a note. He found nothing and made himself a cup of coffee. This was strange, he thought. She always told him when she was going somewhere, so why isn't there a note now? He thought about this while drinking coffee. Suddenly his phone rang. He saw Donna calling and answered. "Donna," he asked, "where are you?" "Sorry, John," she said. "I was getting ready for the evening and didn't notice you called until I saw the missed calls a few minutes ago." "What were you preparing for?" asked John. "It's a little surprising," she said. "Some friends and I wanted to surprise you when you get home. Why don't you come over to our place so we can celebrate?" "Of course," John said. "Where are you?" She gave him the address, and he wrote it down. "What is it?" asked John. "Is this a club or a restaurant?" An old friend has a private club in his house, and we decided to organize something for you, she said. It's kind of a combination of a homecoming party and an anniversary. Sounds fun, John said. Donna laughed. Yes, I promise it will be fun, she said. Wear something casual, okay? Okay, John said. See you soon. See you, honey, she said before ending the call. Strange, he thought. She didn't say she loved him, but it was supposed to be a surprise anniversary party. However, there was something in her voice that made him wonder what was going on. He went upstairs, showered, shaved, and put on jeans and a polo shirt. He looked up the address on MapQuest and saw that it was in a rather rough area of town. Who does she know who lives there, he thought. He knew most of the people at the insurance company where she worked and didn't think any of them lived there. So who is this friend? He knew she had dated some pretty rude people before, but he thought she had outgrown that. He locked up the house, got into his car, and entered the address into his Garmin Smart Drive. He drove out and followed the GPS directions to the address and was a little shocked when he reached the location. The medium-sized house stood in the middle of the lot, surrounded by a chain-link fence. He noticed pickup trucks and motorcycles parked around and began to worry as he didn't recognize any of them. He drove up, parked, and walked to the front door. When he knocked on the door, a large man in a t-shirt and jeans opened it. John noticed the beer in his hand and heard rock music coming from inside. Yes, asked the man. I'm John Hurley, and my wife, Donna, asked me to meet her here, John said. I hope I'm in the right place. The man smiled, but John didn't think it was friendly. The man reached out and shook John's hand. You must be Donna's husband, he said. Call me T-Bone. We've been waiting for you. Come in. John walked in and looked around, seeing several more large men in the living room. Hey guys, the man of the hour is finally here, T-Bone said. The others nodded and smiled at John. They may have smiled, but John felt no real friendship. Where's Donna? Asked John. Oh, she's downstairs getting ready for the main event, T-Bone said, causing the others to giggle. Would you like a beer? Yeah, sure, John said. One of the men handed John a bottle of cold beer. Thank you, John said. He opened it and took a careful sip. So what is this main event? He asked T-Bone. It's a surprise, T-Bone said. Your old lady wanted to do something special for your anniversary and asked us to help. I'm at a disadvantage, John said. Who are you guys? Well, this is CJ, T-Bone said, pointing to one of the men in the room. And this is RJ, and this guy next to him is Aj, he added. That big guy over there, we call him Bull. I'm sure you can see why. John saw a very large, muscular black man standing at the kitchen table. They all looked as angry as snakes, and John noticed a large sheath knife on RJ's belt. Yes, said John, and you're all Donna's friends. Yes, said CJ. It's been a long time. Haven't seen her much since she married you. She's never mentioned you before, John said. I'm not surprised, T-Bone said. Most people try to avoid us as much as possible. And you have a private club here? Asked John. Yeah, T-Bone said. In the basement. We built it ourselves. We like to get together every now and then, have a drink, have some fun, you know. The others chuckled at that, but John felt the hairs rise on the back of his neck. Something bad was going to happen, but he didn't know what. John heard footsteps coming up from the basement. She's ready, said the sixth man, entering the living room. This is her husband. Yeah, T-Bone said. John, this is Jake. He'll take you downstairs. What's going to happen? Asked John. Little surprise, T-Bone said. I promise it will be an evening you won't forget. The others chuckled, but John was nervous. Everything will be fine, Jake said. Come on, Donna is waiting for you. John walked over to Jake, who led him downstairs. Happy anniversary, T-Bone said as John began to descend. When he reached the basement, he saw a small bar in the corner of the room and a well-lit raised area at one end of the room. A curtain was drawn across the end of this area, which he realized was probably a stage. His biggest concern was the bed on stage and the camera on a tripod a few feet away. There were neon beer signs on the walls, and the room was quite dark, like a bar or club. There was a pool table at one end of the basement, and John noticed several tables in the room. The jukebox was on one side of the wall, and John realized that was where the music was coming from. Two other men stood in the room, watching John as he entered. Jake pointed to a chair in front of the stage. The chair was next to the table, but was facing the stage. "Sit down," Jake said, pointing to a chair. "Where's Donna?" asked John. "She'll be out soon," Jake said. "Sit down. You can put your beer on the table if you want." John put down his beer and looked around. Something inside him told John that he needed to get the hell out of here, but he suspected that the 5 men upstairs wouldn't let him leave. Plus, he was worried about Donna. What will they do to her if he runs away? He took a final sip and put the bottle on the table. As soon as he sat down on the chair, Jake and 2 other men grabbed his arms and tied them to the armrests. "What the hell is going on?" John asked, angry. The men ignored him. "Let me go now," John demanded. "Shut up, you bastard," he heard his wife say. He looked up to see Donna wearing only a tiny thong and half-bra. "What the hell is this?" John demanded. "Why are you dressed like that? Who are these guys?" "It's in honor of our anniversary," she said scornfully. "These guys are my friends, and they will help me teach you a lesson about infidelity." She dropped the photo into his lap, and he looked. It was a photo someone had taken while he was having dinner with his sister. "I never cheated on you," John said. "You're wrong." "Damn your lies," she screamed. "Donna, stop right now, and we can discuss this," John said. "It's not what you think." "Oh, really?" she asked. "You look like you're having fun with this blonde. If you can enjoy it, then so can I. But unlike you, I won't hide it." With these words, she turned and walked onto the stage. "Okay, guys," she announced, "it's time to start the show." And she didn't start having sex. For the second time in his life, John lost his temper. The next thing he knew, he was standing free. He looked up to see Donna, wide-eyed and shaking. "Please don't touch me," she begged. "I'm not going to touch you," John said, shaking his head. Keeping her in sight, John took his phone out of his pocket and dialed 911. When he was done, he put the phone away and looked at her. "You stupid bitch," he growled. "John, I caught you red-handed," she said. "You cheated on me with that blonde. I was just taking revenge." "So you hired a private investigator to follow me in Seattle, right?" he asked. "Yes," she said, "and I got this photo." "Did you bother to read the report that was attached?" asked John. She shook her head. "No," she said nervously. "I just looked at the photo." "It was my sister, you stupid bitch," John shouted. "The last time we saw her was at our wedding. She's a senior at the University of Washington in Tacoma. She came to visit me in Seattle, and we had dinner. It's all just dinner, so you saw the photo and didn't ask me questions. You just assumed, as always. Well, you're right about one thing. I'll never touch you again. I'll see you in prison, and then I'll divorce you." "No, John, please don't do this," she begged, walking towards him. "Stay away from me, bitch," John said. "John, please," she begged. "I made a mistake. That's all." "Yes, you made a mistake," John said, "and you will pay for it in full." By then, the police had already arrived, and several officers went downstairs, breaking down the front door. Everyone had their guns ready and were looking back at the consequences. They quickly searched the basement, checking each of the men. One officer pulled the knife from RJ's hand and watched as he fell to the floor. The sergeant approached John. "Did you do all this?" he asked. Trembling, John nodded. "Why?" asked the sergeant. "Watch the video and you'll see why," John said, pointing at the camera. "Check this video," the sergeant ordered one of the officers. The officer watched the video briefly and motioned to the sergeant. After a quick review of the video, the sergeant returned to John. "Okay, it looks like it was self-defense on your part," he said. "But I'll need a full statement, and you'll need to get tested." By then, the ambulances had arrived and paramedics began carrying the men upstairs on stretchers. A plainclothes detective approached and was looking around the room, talking to the officers. After watching the video, he approached the sergeant and John. "I'm Detective Jones. You must be Mr. Vince Hurley," the detective said. "Yes, it's me," John said. "I briefly watched the video," the detective said. "I agree with Sergeant Smith. It appears you acted in self-defense. Tell me what happened." John recounted the events of the last hours. The detective took notes as John spoke. "How were you able to escape from that chair?" Jones asked. "And how were you able to cope with all these men? They are all clearly larger than you." "I have a medical condition," John said. "I've had it since childhood. It has a name, but I can't pronounce it. In a nutshell, under certain conditions, the level of adrenaline in my blood goes through the roof, and I literally lose control. I have a recipe that helps keep it at bay. Under control, and my martial arts training also helps keep me calm. This is only the second time in my life that something like this has happened." "Do you have this medicine with you?" Jones asked. John nodded. "I always carry it with me," he said. "I only take it when needed, which fortunately is not often." Jones asked one of the other officers to get a bottle of water, which he did. "Maybe you should take one now," Jones said, handing John the water. John took a small bag from his pocket and washed down the pill with the water Jones gave him. Within seconds, John felt much better. "Are you feeling better now?" Jones asked. "Yes, thank you," John said. "Do you remember what you did here?" Jones asked. "No, I don't remember," John said, shaking his head. Jones showed John the video. He was shocked by what he saw. It was like watching a Steven Seagal movie, but it was real life. "You don't remember how you did all this?" Jones asked. "No, I don't remember," John said. "Honestly, I never thought I had such abilities." "What's the last memory you have?" Jones asked. "This man was getting ready to come too close to me," John said. "I understand," Jones said, looking around the room where another officer was taking Donna's statement. "I want you to go to the hospital and get tested, Mr. Hurley. I'll talk to you a little later after I've collected all the evidence. I understand you want to press charges." "Absolutely," John said. "What about your wife?" Jones asked. "Do you want to charge her?" "Especially her," John said. "She's the one who started it all." "I see," Jones said. He took John's contact information as the paramedic examined his wrists and ankles. "I will contact you, Mr. Hurley. Please do not leave the city." "I'm not going anywhere," John said. Detective Jones nodded and gave instructions to the officers, then walked towards Donna, who was still giving her statement to the officer. A couple of minutes later, John heard her screams as she was handcuffed and taken out of the room. "Please, John," she cried. "Don't let them take me. Tell them it was a misunderstanding." John shook his head and turned away. After everyone finished the interrogation, John went to the hospital for an examination. A few hours later, he drove home. On the way, he realized that he had not eaten anything since leaving Seattle and stopped at a fast food place for a burger. Returning home, he ate, then called his boss, Jim Rollins, to explain the situation. "Damn, John, I'm sorry to hear that," Jim said. "Listen, bring the signed contract and then take a week off. You've got a lot of time off." "Thanks, Jim, I appreciate it," John said. After he calmed down, John took a shower and went to bed. The next day, he went to the jewelry store and canceled the order for Donna's necklace. He had to pay a small restocking fee, but he got most of his money back. He also canceled his hotel reservation and obtained a refund. Then he called and made an appointment with Jenny Hawkins, a divorce lawyer, on Friday. He had just finished lunch when his phone rang. He looked and saw Donna's parents calling. He took a deep breath and answered. "Hello," he said. "John, what the hell is going on?" asked Marcia, his mother-in-law. "Donna called from the county jail. She said she was arrested and being held without bail. Did you do something?" John couldn't believe the audacity of this woman. He counted to 10 and took a few deep breaths before answering. "Did she tell you why she was arrested?" asked John. "She said it was some kind of misunderstanding on your part," Marcia said. He told them everything that happened. She didn't mention this. What? Asked Marcia. Why would she do that? Because she saw a photo of me having dinner with my little sister and thought we were having an affair, John said. This woman is crazy, and tomorrow I will meet with a lawyer and file for divorce. You can't be serious, Marcia said. Look, I know you're probably upset, but you understand how she felt. What would you do if you saw her having dinner with a man? I would ask her about that, John said. I wouldn't lose my temper the way she did. Look, Marcia, you have no idea what your daughter did, and I can't forgive it. I'm tired of her crazy jealousy since we got married. It ends now. With these words, he ended the call. When she called again, he sent the call to voicemail. Curious, he walked into the living room where he and Donna had their home computers. He sat down at her computer and turned it on. He already knew her passwords, so he easily entered her desktop. He opened her email client and was shocked by what he saw. He found an email from something called Jenkins Investigations and opened it. A document and photo were attached to the letter. The photo was from the restaurant where he had dinner with his sister, the same one that she had thrown in his face earlier. The report stated that target John Hurley, meaning he, was having dinner with a woman who appeared to be significantly younger. The report further stated that after dinner, the woman left the hotel and Hurley went to his room. There was something else. The report clearly identified the woman as Lisa Hurley, a senior at the University of Washington in Tacoma, and public records indicate that she is John's younger sister. During the entire period of observation, Hurley was not observed to engage in any inappropriate behavior with anyone, regardless of gender, the report concluded. If Donna had bothered to read the report, she would have known that he was not cheating on her. But as usual, she simply saw the photo and made her own erroneous conclusion. He printed it out and continued his search. He found emails from her to a website called hotcheatingatinjevan.com, where she falsely claimed that her husband was cheating on her and she wanted revenge. He saw letters from the site and read the correspondence. The more he read, the more his blood began to rise. What happened to him last night was carefully planned, and he realized that she was deliberately planning revenge. He printed out the emails and continued his search. He checked her browser history and found that she had visited several sites similar to the one she had accessed. While browsing the site she linked, he saw several sample videos of other husbands being tied up and forced to watch their wives have sex with multiple men, humiliating them all the while. What shocked him even more was that the videos on the site were available to anyone who paid a premium subscription fee. John wasn't stupid. He had seen adult videos and knew that in order to post the videos on the site, you had to fill out a permission form. He had never been given this opportunity and wondered if other men had signed such a form. He picked up the phone and called Detective Jones. Jones, the detective answered. Detective, this is John Hurley. I have information that may interest you, John said. Can you come to my house? Of course, Jones said. Let me finish what I'm doing and I'll come. Thank you, John said, ending the call. While he waited for Jones, he ran a Whois search to see who owned the site. The registration was done so that the owner's name would remain confidential, but he knew that law enforcement agencies might require disclosure of the data. He also knew which company was hosting the site. He printed it out for Jones. About half an hour later, Jones rang the doorbell. Thank you for coming, Detective, John said as he opened the door. Do you have something for me? Jones asked. Yes, in my computer room, John said. Jones followed him upstairs and looked at the printouts John had given him. This confirms what we found in the house, Jones said. Apparently, they did this to a number of men. But as for permission forms, John asked. We found release forms signed by the wives, Jones said. Even your wife signed the release form. We all look at all the evidence. So she knew what it was going to hit on the internet, John asked. It looks like it, Jones said. But what about husbands? John asked. I don't remember seeing anything like that, Jones said. But as I said, we study all the evidence. Look, I need to confiscate your wife's computer as evidence. You're welcome, John said. I'd like to keep these printouts for my lawyer. The files are still in her mail. Jones nodded after thinking for a moment. Okay, but don't destroy them, he said. The next day, he went to Jenny to discuss the divorce. He made copies of Donna's emails and took them with him. One copy was intended for Jenny, and he intended to give the other to Donna's parents. He arrived at the office a few minutes early and was immediately ushered inside. After they introduced themselves, he explained his situation to Jenny and showed her the correspondence between Donna and T-Bone. Jenny listened without interrupting, taking notes as the story progressed. She read the correspondence and shook her head. You know, I thought I had seen everything, she said. Lucky for you, in this state, you can file for divorce on the grounds of infidelity, cruelty, and violence. I think that covers all three situations. Are you saying she was arrested and held without bail? Yes, said John. Jenny turned to her computer and nodded after a few moments. I see she was arraigned yesterday and charged with a number of charges, she said. It appears the judge decided she was dangerous enough to be held. I also see that her accomplices have been charged with similar charges. And you say that these men run a website where they post this video on the internet for money. Yes, said John. I found several of their videos, and they are all similar to what happened to me. Did they explain this to you before they tied you up? Jenny asked. No, said John. Did they make you sign a release form? She asked. Again, no, John said. They made it look like some kind of surprise anniversary party. They didn't say anything about sex or selling videos online. Well, I think we not only have a solid case against your wife, but we also have a case against the men who did this, as well as the hosting provider, she said. John watched as Jenny did a few more things on her computer before continuing. Do you know if they offered your wife a royalty for this video? She asked. No, I haven't seen anything like it, John said. This site seems to get a lot of traffic, she said. I think they're making a ton of money off this garbage. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to file divorce papers demanding 90% of the property. On top of that, we're going to ask for a house and whatever else we can get. The judge may not agree with this, and we may have to negotiate. This is just a starting point. We will use this email exchange and the fact that she is being held without bail as leverage. If she's released, I'll get a restraining order against her and her accomplices, but I don't think you need to worry about that. Are you saying Detective Jones has a video they took as evidence and it didn't make it onto the internet? She asked. He has video, John said. As far as I know, it didn't make it onto the internet. But it would have gone online, she said. Oh, yes, he said. She nodded. Okay, she said, taking notes. I'll contact him about this video. We'll serve her with a subpoena, and if you want, I'll file a civil lawsuit against the site owners and hosting provider. Yes, that would be good, John said. She looked at him before continuing. Do yourself a favor, she said. Don't visit your wife. Stay as far away from her as possible. Don't think about what she did. Let me and the authorities handle it. From what you told me, it's best you don't think about her. If you want, I can refer you to a therapist to help you deal with this. John nodded. Yes, he said. I've tried everything I know, but it doesn't seem to be enough. Usually breathing exercises and medications help me keep everything under control. But I've never encountered anything like this. I understand, Jenny said. She handed him the card. I'll call her right now if you want. You're welcome, John said. She picked up the phone, called, and made an appointment for him. When she finished, she smiled and looked at John. Dr. Sykes said she can see you at 4:00 p.m. today, Jenny said. Will this suit you? John looked at his watch, then nodded. Will do, thanks, John said. Okay, she said. Here's what you need to do soon, she added, handing him a piece of paper with a list of things to do. Most of them were related to the bank, so he decided to look into it after meeting Jenny. I'll get to it immediately, he said. Great, she said. Look, I know this hasn't been easy for you, so I want you to rest, relax, and let us get on with it, okay? I see, he said. Okay, she said. Don't worry, John. Everything will work out, and you can move on with your life. He thanked her and left the office, leaving a substantial advance. From there, he went to the bank, paid off and closed their joint credit cards, withdrew all but 10% of the money, then opened a new account in his name and applied for a new credit card. He then stopped by Donna's parents and explained to them what had happened, showing them email correspondence between Donna and T-Bone. They were shocked when he told them what he knew. "It hurts," Donna's mother, Marcia, said. "I can't believe she would do something like that. Are you sure you didn't cheat on her?" "Marcia, I love Donna with all my heart, and I never even thought about cheating," John said. "She saw a photo of me having dinner with my little sister and thought we were having an affair. She didn't even bother to read the report. If she had, this probably wouldn't have happened." She shook her head. "I don't know what to tell you, John," she said. "I'm really sorry this happened to you." "Me too," John said. "Just stay in touch, okay?" she asked. "We always thought of you as the son we never had." "I will," he said. "By the way, this guy still has her car. I'll give you her keys if you want to pick her up. I'll drop off her stuff later today or over the weekend." "Thank you," she said. He handed her the keys and gave her the address. By then, he had enough time to get to his meeting with Dr. Sykes. Dr. Dick Sykes. Rhonda, to her friends and patients, listened to John's story and said nothing until he was finished. "I have heard about your condition, but I have never met anyone who has been diagnosed with it," she said. "And you say you use martial arts training to keep it under control?" "Yes," said John. "Mostly breathing exercises. This, along with the medication, helps my blood pressure. It usually works pretty quickly, and until recently I rarely used it." "Are you still doing martial arts?" she asked. "Yes," said John. "Maybe we should look into some meditation exercises," she said. "Would you agree to this?" "Yes," said John. "Okay," she said. "We have a lot of work to do, John, but I think we can help you get through this without more medication." "I'd prefer that," John said. He returned home and packed Donna's things, including all of their wedding photos and her wedding dress. He looked around and packed up a few trinkets she had collected over the years. They no longer meant anything to him, and he wanted to remove everything that reminded him of her. This weekend he changed the locks on the house, took Donna's things to her parents, and did the usual yard work. On Sunday, he found an app that he said helped him calm down, so he downloaded it to his phone and listened to the sounds of rain while going through breathing exercises. After half an hour, he felt like before and decided to go to work the next day. The next few weeks passed quietly for John. He went to work, returned home, watched TV, rested, and went to bed. The house seemed much quieter without Donna, and he enjoyed doing what he wanted without her constant accusations. His therapy sessions with Rhonda helped him significantly, and he found the relaxation techniques she suggested to be very helpful. He kept in touch with Jenny, who said she was going to wait until after Donna's trial before serving her with a subpoena. Her thought was that the divorce would go smoothly if she was convicted of a crime. The day of Donna's trial arrived, and he was asked to testify, which he did gladly. The jury was shocked when the prosecutor presented evidence, including John's testimony. They were so shocked that they returned with guilty verdicts on all counts within just a couple of hours. The judge showed her no mercy and sentenced her to the maximum possible under state law, 20 years. She was eligible for parole after 15 years, the judge said. As she was being let out, the bailiff stepped forward. He verified her identity and handed her an envelope. "You have received a summons," he said. Defeated, Donna signed the papers and handed them back. "Have a nice day," said the bailiff, receiving them. She looked at John with tears in her eyes, but he simply looked away. Deputies escorted her out and took her to a van that would take her to the state women's prison. A couple of months later, John learned from Jenny that Donna became pregnant after that sex, but lost the child. Too bad, John thought. The trials of T-Bone and his team took significantly longer. Detective Jones found a treasure trove of evidence that suggested they had been the victims of up to 15 men over the past 13 months. They found what appeared to be authorization forms signed by the target husbands, but the men they found said the forms were signed after the fact and under duress. Moreover, the site owners also published personal information about the victims. At least 3 of the victims committed suicide because of what was done to them. Eventually, all the men involved were sentenced to 25 years of forced labor. The site was shut down, and all the victims, or at least all the men that Jenny's legal team could find, received a huge sum of money that bankrupted T-Bone and his accomplices. The hosting provider also settled with the victims, which increased the amount. John almost cried when Jenny handed him a check for $2 million. Although he appreciated the restitution, money could not ease his broken heart. "You're a good man, John Hurley," she said. "There are many good women who would like to be with you. You will find her." "Thank you, Jenny," he said. "Maybe once." John continued to see his therapist, who helped him deal with his problems. Over the next 2 years, he buried himself in work and dated women periodically, but it was only in the last couple of months that he began dating one woman more than once. "He has a lot of issues to deal with," his therapist wrote as she jotted down her notes. "But on the plus side, he hasn't had any more episodes, and he seems to be moving forward. I think he'll be fine in the long run." "At least I hope so," Rhonda thought. Subscribe